Yeah.
Like when I teach my students, and a few of them are, forced to learn the bossa nova here and there, I always say to them, if you want to phrase this correctly, don't just learn the melody, or especially don't learn the melody with the English lyrics. Learn the melody. You don't have to learn the Brazilian or the Portuguese lyrics, but if you're, especially, I teach saxophone, so they don't have to learn the lyrics. But I say, if you're gonna transcribe the melody, how it's supposed to sound like, don't transcribe from Ella Fitzgerald singing Triste. Transcribe from João Gilberto or somebody who speaks the language, because the accent makes a huge difference in the way the rhythm. And that can go even deeper in the sense that the regions, like samba in São Paulo sounds different from samba in Rio. It does. And then people in Rio say that Paulistas don't know how to.
São Paulo todo mundo samba.
Vinicius de Moraes said that one time.
So how do you characterize in the group Casuarina? How do you, what do
I
they?
know some of them, they're very kind of, I would say they're considered, one of the members are Lenin's son, the singer Lenin.
The short guy or the tall
No,
guy? There were
he's
two
the
singers.
tallest.
There was a very tall guy
I think the
that plays a drum, and then there was a shorter guy that played like, what we call
It was
pandereta.
the tallest.
no, the tallest guy,
You know,
I can't remember that, but I met the guy, their manager in New York, and I think they're kind of they're cool. They're very nice. I mean, but I think like among like a samba, it's something that there's so many different, styles and groups. Like you can have like a very traditional samba, from Monarco, like
Maybe we were expecting the traditional
Yeah.
samba.
No, they say it from the beginning. No, I wasn't expecting anything. I was
like you
surprised.
just noticed.
I was just surprised because of the other, they were the last ones.
I see.
So at first it was this Haitian.
But there's a
group,
very
and
strong
then-
movement in Rio, especially in Lapa, which a lot of different samba groups and like younger people. And I feel that right now in Brazil, they're kind of turning themselves more towards Brazil.
Yeah,
I feel that.
There's a lot of a renaissance movement in Brazil where young people are moving away from the media, and they're like coming into, playing the music from the 1920s.
Yeah.
With Choro.
Choro
has been
samba movement.
Choro was never popular in the 20s. Choro wasn't it was considered too classical and too. It was like a musician's music. People would get up
for musicians.
Yeah, and the tradition of the chorões, the people who played choro, were mostly public servants, and they would get out of work and they would hang out at the bar and play together, because they could not make a living also playing that music. And now it's like it's one of the most popular.
There's a escola do choro in Brasília, Clube do Choro. There's a school of choro in Brasília, the school of choro in Rio.
I wanted to pick your brains on one slightly different topic, and I'm very curious because since you're all men, I wanted to ask you this question. I think that one of the greatest things that has been happening the last 10 or 15 years in Brazil is for a country where we had Chiquinha Gonzaga at the very, very beginning of our music tradition, and you would think that there would be a bunch of Brazilian female composers following Chiquinha Gonzaga, right? You'd say, oh man, we have this wonderful figure there, right? So whatever's coming next is going to be fantastic. But then we wait a century or more before we really see women, and nowadays, out of the new talents that we have out there, I really like listening to Céu, Maria Naida, I have Tulipa Ruiz, or Maria Gadu, and we have women composers. So I wanted to hear a little bit from you guys what you think about women composers in today's Brazil, right? So what's your impression?
I love Dolores Duran too, which was
Yeah,
a
Dolores
great,
Duran.
great, wonderful,
Uh-huh.
like a very, Chicken was much, yeah. And Joyce, I love Joyce.
Joyce, uh-huh.
Joyce was a great, great
Yeah.
stew. Like
Yeah, but you have like
she
one
is.
here,
She
another
is.
one there. But
Yeah.
but that's the thing. You have one person
And I
there.
think, no,
Nowadays it seems that we
Yeah.
have like a
Like a singing songwriters. Like we have a lot of singer songwriters.
Songwriters.
Like that's like we have a bunch of them.
Uh-huh.
Maybe we tell them that we used to know Cell when she
Cell
was a baby.
actually in the first record she thanked my dad and my mom because she grew up like she's a very close friend of my family, Cell. So I love her singing, not because I know her. And I think Cell is like and Cell is she loves like all kinds of music, but her dad, which happened to be her dad used to be my music teacher when I was like 12 or 11 years old. He was very kind of like, like he loved jazz, but he was like, no, you have to listen to Villa Lobos. You have to listen to, like he was kind of a Brazilian, kind of completely like, and Cell grew up listening to these things. That's an interesting thing that her music doesn't sound like that, but she knows all this like Moacir Santos. She loves Moacir Santos, I like some of them. I think Maria Rita was kind of the first. After Maria Rita, all of this like they kind of like okay, so now we have courage to like, and they started like a Maria Gadu was like the first one I think was like Maria Rita, from this generation on.
Yeah, she didn't compose, but
I think she opened like, and then we start to have all this. I like Cell. Some of them I think is very interesting, and Maria Gadu I think that has some interesting, but I don't know, what do you think, guys?
I think Chiquinha Gonzaga was something truly amazing.
Amazing.
Completely came up out of nowhere.
Yeah.
We don't have anything like that
Yeah,
till
never
now.
since,
I can
yeah.
say that because the women, you told they were mainly songwriters. They do canções, right? Song. Yeah.
Singer-songwriter.
Yeah. Chiquinha Gonzaga was a tremendous pianist, and she played very well and she composed fantastic.
But I think I hope that this is the beginning of something because I hate to throw in the social part of it in there, but Brazil has a lot of problems when it comes to equal rights and things like that. And I think that it's a society that is plagued with a lot of macho culture. And for many years, I think that girls were not encouraged. And the same happened in jazz. It's changing now in jazz, but girls were not encouraged to pursue anything other than maybe singing. So it kind of becomes sort of a symptom of the culture, and then it becomes something that is hard to break away from. And I hope that is changing. And in the work,
It has to do a lot with this aspect. I've seen like a post by Joyce, very interesting, because like Chiquinha Gonzaga was the same. Like it was very rare. It is very rare to find like a female composer that doesn't sing. Joyce happens to sing, but Joyce used to write for other singers as well.
Right.
Like for instance, Elis Regina, essa mulher, right? So, but the thing is like, the media was very like there was a pressure on the female to be like sexy. Joyce wrote it about that, and I agree. If you take like all the females like covers, including Cell, it's kind of like you have to be sexy, you have to be in a certain way, and Joyce is totally against it. She's like, we are not like she said something really nice, like we are not like poisas or something like that, like we do things, so it was kind of again like protesting against something, but I kind of agree, like we are never as men and as a composer, like a Chico Buarque or Caetano Gil, were never like I doubt that the record companies were like, no, it have to be like for like to Gil, it have to be sexy on the cover. No, like
No.
he was just a composer. No, like if he's
Right.
sexy or not, like it doesn't matter. But for a female, there was always a pressure, especially like a composer or singer-songwriter. If you take like a lot of them, like still having that pressure. Like you have to be sexy. You have to look sexy. Like you have to be looking good in the cover. And Joyce was like, man, I never agree with that. It was like a very recent on Facebook. And now she was like asked to be. She was nominated like a something. Like representante a rainha da Inglaterra chamou ela para ser representante do movimento em relação a isso, contra esse tipo de coisa. Né?
Yes?
You go ahead, but maybe we can finish like in 5 minutes.
Sure. So she was invited by the Queen of England to be a vocal representative of what's going on, and basically a public figure against that kind of behavior, which is very common in Brazil. And it's interesting because I think just going, I just want to add something to what Chico said. I think that kind of repression that always existed and existed here too. If you think about the beginnings of jazz, you got somebody like Louis Armstrong, and his wife was a great pianist, and his wife was a great composer, arranger, but not a lot of people were encouraged to do that. Except his first wife, by the way. It's interesting because if you think about the poetry of Brazilian music around the time of Chico Buarque and those guys, that was so much, like Chico Buarque is known for being somebody who he basically was able to voice a lot of, like almost like a feminine persona as a poet. His lyrics, when he writes from the perspective of a woman, it's incredible. It's like it's heart-wrenching, some of the poetry that he created, the way he sort of was able to work as some kind of representative of something that was lacking at that time for one reason or another, But I hope that in the future that is something that no male would need to do, But it was, I guess we're.
Yeah.
Is this a class?
There's a talk
At what time?
at 5:30.